I just spent a whole week watching every single Rick and Morty episode and counting every single kill Rick Sanchez makes. And I know you saw the thumbnail and think that it is a complete lie, but if you stick till the end, you're gonna see how that number becomes that crazy, I promise you. So without further ado, here's every person Rick Sanchez, or specifically Rick C-137, has killed. Starting with the very first episode, we meet Frank Pelkey, who becomes victim number 1. This guy was Morty's bully, and one day while Frank was bullying Morty, Rick freezes him solid with an ice ray and just leaves Frank's frozen body alone until...
Hi, Frank.
This is literally only the first 6 minutes of the show, and yup, this isn't even the only kill from this episode. In that same chaotic adventure to another dimension, Rick and Morty were running away from security guards because Rick and Morty were hiding some seeds in Morty's, let's just say opposite of mouth.
You gotta do it for Grandpa, Morty. You gotta put these seeds inside your butt.
Okay, that's gross. While being chased by the guards, Rick knocks over a poor alien who was just chilling inside a chamber, and this kills it immediately. And if that wasn't enough carnage for literally the first episode, Rick also crushes another alien falling on top of it. 3 bodies in the very first episode, and Rick's just getting started. Then we jump to M. Night's Shame Aliens, and Rick pulls off one of his first mass murder yet in the series. The Zigerians, who are basically Nigerian scammers but on an intergalactic scale, manage to trap Rick in this elaborate simulation. They're trying to extract Rick's recipe for concentrated dark matter, which they succeed.
What the? No!
But oh, they think they're pulling the strings. But after letting Rick go, Rick one-upped them by tricking the Zigerians into creating concentrated dark matter using a false recipe.
And the final ingredient?
This massive explosion takes out a total of 47 aliens in just one go. Moving on, there's the Mystique's episode, which is one wild ride. Rick gave the Smith family a Mystique's box. While Rick is explaining how a Mystique's work, he summons one, asks it to open Jerry's mayonnaise jar, and then the Mystiques cease to exist. Not sure if this one counts as a kill, but technically if Rick didn't push the button, then the Mystiques didn't have to die or even exist. But later in the episode, we get one of the most justified kills from Rick. Now this is after that absolutely disturbing bathroom scene involving Morty and King Jellybean. Morty, clearly shaken up by this horrifying experience, asked Rick to go home, but Rick was adamant to tie up any loose ends. Sure, Morty had already beaten them up pretty good, but Rick made sure the job was finished. One less predator in the multiverse, thank God. Okay, now moving on, there was this one time where Summer gets abducted by 5 male Gazerpians, and Grandpa Rick was not having it, as we immediately see him mowing down 5 male Gazerpians with his ray gun. The Gazerpians never saw that one coming, but in the season finale, when Rick was captured by the Citadel, he kills 2 Citadel guards while he escapes. The first guard gets incinerated by a blast of fire that Rick triggers. Charred him into a nice well done, if you know what I mean. And the second guard gets killed by alien tentacles. All that in just a span of 10 seconds. Don't you worry now, this tally is going to get much larger and weirder at the same time. Like this next one, at the beginning of season 2, Rick was going through a parallel dimension fiasco, where this being with a suspiciously similar looking to something that begins with a T appears and basically there to arrest Rick for messing with time with a weird looking gun, whose name was Chris. When a struggle broke out between Rick and Shlimy Pants, yes, that's the name, the Rick and Morty creators are clearly not the best at giving names to their characters. Rick startled by Chris when he was moving, dropped him, and Chris went on to be a free gun roaming in the wild. Oh, rest in peace, Chris. Continuing, this is basically like Rick's greatest hits album of murder methods. First, he slices a Grumflamite vertically in half with a portal. That's pretty brutal. Next, Rick created a flesh flood out of nowhere and then yanked them through dimensions while they were drowning, killing 4 more Grumflamites. He then crashes his ship into 3 more Grumflamites, adding 3 more to the kill count. Then he completely destroys a Gear police officer spaceship with the officer inside. Oh, hold up, we're not quite finished with the episode yet, but finally he shoots down 3 more ships in aerial combat by outmaneuvering them all and shooting them out of the sky. That's 11 kills in this one episode. Next up is when Rick reunites with Unity, a hive mind entity he used to date. After their toxic relationship deteriorates and Unity leaves him, Rick returns home severely depressed. In his garage, devastated and alone, Rick picks up a frozen creature from one of his past experiments. He then unfreezes this small deformed being that immediately starts screaming in agony. In a rare moment of tenderness, Rick comforts the suffering creature, but then of course he tested the creature with his death ray, and this immediately vaporized it to death. Then he laid his head on the raid, trying to end it once and for all. Luckily, he passed out right before the machine activated. Truly one of the darkest moments in Rick and Morty. Moving on is when the family battles memory parasites that can shapeshift and multiply by implanting false memories. Rick realizes there should only be 6 people in the household and seals the house to hunt them down. Rick starts his parasite extermination with Uncle Steve, Jerry's supposed brother who had been living with them for a year. Rick shoots Steve right through the temple, exposing his true parasite form. Then there's cousin Nikki, another fake family member, who I think could really make a good pizza.
I hear you, Morty. Back in Brooklyn, we got a saying. We're walking here!
Rick blows off his shoulder at point blank range, killing him immediately. After the family realizes the parasites are growing and growing, they, especially Rick, go on an absolute slaughter spree, leading to Sylvester, who Rick really have a hard time to kill, leading him to order Morty to do it. Alright, next up is when alien heads appear demanding bangers from Earth. As this massive alien head appeared over Earth, Rick quickly infiltrated the US government to take control of the situation. He was apprehended by military soldiers who Rick quickly shot a beam of energy, turning them into snakes? Huh, I guess morphing them into another being shouldn't count as a kill. But anywho, General Nathan, who was an American Army general, wanted to destroy it with nuclear weapons. Classic American style. The president disagreed, instead gives Rick Sanchez and Morty a chance to perform a song. When the general interferes with Rick's plans, Rick quickly fires another beam. And wait, why didn't he turn into a snake?
Trade secret, Mr. President. Particle beam in a wristwatch. Snake holster on the leg.
Well played, Mr. Sanchez. So let's add the 2 soldiers from before to the tally too. Alright, this next scene is crazy. We have Rick killing clones of himself.
I guess it's back to the drawing board. Grandpa's back, baby!
Boy, I sure am not messing with Rick. 5 more up the count. Moving to the next one, Rick and Morty crash landed on a planet inhabited by the Magdalians, a peaceful cat-like humanoid species living an Amish-style lifestyle. It looked like a seemingly peaceful planet, but their timing couldn't be any worse. They arrived just as the annual purge begins, where all crimes including murder are legal for one night. When Rick and Morty manage to get stuck on the planet, they need to resort to indulging in the festivities.
God, this is awesome.
And when Rick receives a care package with a mech suit inside, he goes on another rampage. We counted up to 33 kills in just one night. Carry on, after being arrested by the Galactic Federation at the end of Season 2, Rick finds himself imprisoned in their maximum security facility. During his imprisonment, the Council of Ricks sends SEAL Team Ricks, an elite special operation unit, to break into the Galactic Federation prison to retrieve and kill Rick C-137 before any Citadel secrets could fall into the Federation hands. But we all know Rick ain't going down that easily, as Rick kills the entire SEAL Team Rick's units, easily outsmarting all of them, and just shows how much smarter our C-137 Rick is. Then Rick teleports the entire Citadel of Ricks into the same space as the Federation prison, destroying the prison in the process. This collision killed 50 Grunflamites in the process, and he caps it off by executing several Council of Ricks, killing a total of 59 people in this prison escape. Alright, now let's get into one of Rick and Morty's best action sequences in this series.
I'm Pickle Rick!
Rick has turned himself into a pickle to avoid going into family therapy with the Smith family. One thing led to another, and Rick has managed to get himself dropped in the sewers, where he met a cockroach and killed him without using any limbs. Next thing we see, Rick was using cockroaches' limbs to move around. That's at least another 2 cockroaches to the tally, and Rick managed to kill the rat to help him make a new spicier exoskeleton. Now what happens next is pure crazy action scenes. Rick went on killing rats upon rats with makeshift weapons he found throughout the sewer, and the end total was 21 rats in that one scene. Oh, he wasn't done yet though. Escaping the sewers through the toilet, he found himself inside a Russian embassy and took out multiple agents with traps and makeshift laser weapons. Finally, he rigged explosive throughout the compound, leading to this.
Farewell, Solenia.
That gets at least another 20 bodies under his belt. But what happens when Rick travels to a planet where you cannot die? The episode starts with Rick dragging Jerry into a night out because the kids are scared their dad is getting depressed. When they first arrive at the resort, Rick suddenly gets stabbed in the chest with a spear. Rick retaliates and stabs his attacker with a glass bottle, killing them both. And Jerry, being Jerry, is completely useless.
Someone?
Turns out they're old friends, and the resort has a barrier that resurrects anyone that died inside of it. So I guess that didn't count as a kill. Moving on, Jerry meets Risotto Groupon, Rick's old enemy who holds a big grudge against him. He convinces Jerry to have a ride with Rick in the whirly-dirly roller coaster, where conveniently there was a slight gap in the Immortality field. So on they go to the roller coaster, and Jerry gets cold feet and warns Rick about his impending doom, which led to a fight in the roller coaster. Alright, using regular methods clearly didn't work, so Rick needed to time it just right to get outside of the Immortality field.
Good call, Jerry.
But the chaos wasn't done yet. Risotto's henchmen caught Rick, and Rick managed to blow them up, leading to the roller coaster derailing out of control. Rick, clearly pissed off with Jerry, who lets Risotto go along with his plan, leave Jerry to be eaten by a gibble snake.
I knew you wouldn't let me die.
Okay, he didn't kill Jerry, but he did kill the snake though. Fast forward throughout the episode, Rick and Jerry managed to get into a transport where they met Risotto Groupon trying to end it once and for all. Luckily for Rick, they went through an interdimensional acid trip, which dazed Risotto, leaving Rick with the upper hand. That's another 6 kills to the tally. For our next one, Rick and Morty are called upon by the president, and they're sent to kill a vicious alien in the Sex Kennedy's secret tunnels under the White House. After the job was finished easily, Rick and Morty are tired of being treated like a couple of oddball Ghostbusters, randomly getting phoned to bust some ghosts or aliens.
Treats us like Ghostbusters.
We should talk to him.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
What starts as a routine alien extermination job quickly escalates into an all-out war between Rick and the president. The conflict turns up when Rick refuses to leave the White House without getting a selfie with the president. But of course, the disrespectful president refuses to do it, and the situation spirals into chaos as security forces are deployed against him. One guard dies from literally just touching Rick's defensive field.
Okay, what was that?
Death.
What kind?
Instant.
9 more guards die when Rick ricochets their own bullets back to their heads. 8 more get sliced by Rick's monomolecular laser wire, adding another 18 kills to the kill count. Even the White House Secret Service couldn't do shit against Rick. But next up is when Rick discovers someone has used his private toilet on a distant planet. Yup, even using Rick's toilet is a problem for Rick, and he becomes absolutely obsessed with tracking down this mystery intruder. As he tracks down the intruder, his delivery drone is shot down in a war zone in Midland Khazar, where war rages between robot soldiers and lizard people. To retrieve the drone's memory chip, he jumps headfirst into the conflict, disguising himself as a robot lieutenant, and kills several lizard people in the fight. He brutally stomps one lizard person's head twice, another onto a metal spike where they're impaled, and crushes a third with a fighter ship he maneuvers as a weapon. And he simultaneously kills 3 more lizard people with a devastating laser eye blast, bringing his total to 6 kills for this episode. Moving on to the episode Rattlestar Galactica, Morty accidentally kills a snake, and Rick's attempt to cover it up quickly spiral out of control. Their interference creates a butterfly effect that leads to snake time travel technology and snake terminators being sent back to kill them. Rick transforms into a one-man army against these mechanical snake assassins. In a particularly brutal moment, bites the head of another snake terminator. Yikes, that's gross. Working alongside Morty, they gun down 11 more snake terminators together, totaling 20 kills for this episode. But our next one throws Rick and Morty into a clear homage to the Alien franchise, complete with parasitic creatures that use hosts to reproduce. I know, it's weird as fuck. Rick faces a massive infestation of Glorzo parasites and realizes he must eliminate both the parasites and their infected hosts to prevent the spread. He starts this rampage by shooting the infected people with his ray gun. In an intense sequence, he incinerates 18 fucking parasites with his ship's booster exhaust. From this episode alone, Rick's total kill count reaches 160 kills. For our next episode, it starts when Rick and Morty are doing a deal with some alien mobsters, and Rick uses a fake vat of acid acid to get out of trouble. When the mobster realizes something's up, Rick disintegrates 3 of them with his ray. Morty, mocking how stupid of an idea it was to set up a fake vat of acid, angers Rick. So Rick made him a safe state device that let Morty reset into another point in time. But the real carnage comes when Morty abuses this device. Turns out the device was programmed so that every time Morty presses it, he will change place with another Morty in another universe, killing the other Morty in the process. In a moment that showcases his callous disregard for alternate versions of his grandson, Rick literally single-handedly kills 125 multiverse Mortys just because Morty didn't like his idea. But now moving on to the finale of season 4. This is probably the episode that contains a kill that puts a smile on our faces. In this episode, Rick is dragged into one final showdown with the Galactic Federation. During the showdown, Rick launches an assault on the Federation forces, killing 16 Grumflemites in the initial attack. But no, that's not the best kill I was talking about earlier. Well, we have to go back to the wedding squanchers. Remember Bird Person? Rick's best friend, and one of the most beloved Rick and Morty characters ever, which I have made a video on the most loved and hated characters on Rick and Morty. You could check it out after this video on the description. Alright, shameless plug aside, in this episode, Bird Person was getting married to Tammy Guterman, but the tables quickly turned as it turns out Tammy was an undercover agent working for the Galactic Federation and literally kills Bird Person during the wedding. And that's when the most satisfying moment comes, when Rick gets his revenge on Tammy Guterman.
You made me go to a wedding.
Yeah, fuck you, Tammy. In the finale, he totaled 17 kills, and it feels particularly personal as he finally gets payback for our beloved Bird Person. We love you, Bird Person. Okay, this next one is super weird. In this episode, Rick creates a bioweapon using what he believes is horse semen to fight an underground race of cannibalistic horse people called Chuds. However, the barrel actually contains Morty's semen, after Morty secretly used a breeding mount at Bev's vet hospital. I know it's super weird, but hang in there. When Rick's experiment goes wrong, it creates an army of giant, mutated sperm monsters that begin attacking and devouring humans. During the chaos, Rick takes out 6 sperm monsters with his ray gun, shooting them in the mouth as they attack. 6 extra kills in this episode. Continuing is when Rick and Morty breaks into a government building on Thanksgiving to steal a presidential pardon device, but their plan goes horribly wrong when they're caught by the president himself. To escape, Rick transforms himself and Morty into turkeys using this technology. However, the president retaliates by turning his entire military into turkey as well. What? They are called gobblers, and it leads to an all-out war. Rick eliminates the turkey soldiers using various methods, and after killing all the soldiers and gobblers, it adds another 13 kills to the kill count. Next up, okay, this one is a sad one. In this episode, Rick and Morty broke up after Rick fires Morty and picks 2 crows as his new sidekick. So in Rick's own adventure with the 2 crows, he went on a battle and killed 7 crows. During one of Rick's adventure with the 2 crows, he protected a village from owl bandits, killing 3 of them. Fast forward through the episode, Rick eventually teamed up again with Morty because the crows left him, and then Morty uses a device to scour Rick's mind, and it leads into a massive revelation of Rick's tragic backstory and his history with the Citadel of Ricks. In the flashback, we see Rick searching for Rick Prime, who killed both his wife and daughter. His investigation led him to multiple battles that included blowing up aliens, killing other Ricks, and even blowing up at least 50 Ricks without breaking a sweat, but all that effort to no avail. This episode shows the length Rick has taken to search for his family's killer, adding 96 bodies to the tally. Moving on to season 6, in the episode Final Destination, Rick faces off against the Fortune 500 corporation that threatens his family's safety in this corporate espionage parody. When corporate security forces try to stop him, Rick eliminates them all using his advanced weaponry and tactical skills, adding a total of 15 casualties. Alright, next up, in one of the series' most bizarre episodes, Rick's main problem is the constant harassment from a rotating cast of 90s style goofball supervillains.
You want a piece of piss?
The episode opens with Rick engaged in a battle with his nemesis, Mr. Nimbus, and shortly after, a new ridiculous villain, Cookie Magneto. Rick wastes no time eliminating these threats, starting with a massive kill count of 40 squid that he annihilates with a single high yield bomb. Now it takes on Cookie Magneto and Mr. Calypso, melting Cookie Magneto alive with an overpowered laser and fatally draining Mr. Calypso's cosmic fluid using an extraction rig.
Is that man dead?
Is everything in here confidential?
Everything but murder.
Then he's fine.
With that, it totals another 43 bodies just from this episode. Moving on to the Jarek trap. Okay, what if Rick, the smartest being in the universe, swapped minds with Jerry? Yep, it all starts when Rick and Jerry's petty argument escalates into a mind-swapping disaster. Jerry insults Rick, telling him that his intelligence is wasted on his terrible personality. This pisses off Rick, who decides they should swap minds to see what waste really means. The mind swap goes horribly wrong. Rick, now in Jerry's body, has a mental breakdown and shoots himself in the head. Jerry, unable to control Rick's cyborg body, accidentally kills himself with a misfiring jetpack. The garage AI revives them, but their minds have partially merged. Now they are two confused beings who both think they're Rick. Meanwhile, Morty gets kidnapped by Galactic crime boss Chuck Lee's thugs. When Chuck Lee realizes he's holding Rick Sanchez's sidekick, he panics and tries to make things right, knowing Rick's reputation for violence. The merged Rick-Jerry duo crashes into Chuck Lee's clubhouse, making threats. But the gangsters sense their weakness and attack. This forces them to work together. They slaughter 15 gangsters and run Rick's modified Conehead straight through Chuck Lee's torso. But instead of going home to fix themselves, they abandon the family and become a criminal duo called Burger and Fries, leaving death and destruction across the galaxy. When the family tries to find them, they walk into a trap. The duo rescues them by fusing into a single entity called Jericho. They slice mobsters in half and crushes others to death. The episode ends with Jericho accidentally steps on the rake that started this whole mess, causing him to split back into Rick and Jerry. And that's a total of 37 kills to the tally. Next up is when Rick gets his revenge on Rick Prime. And this is probably the most personal and brutal kill of this entire series. In this episode, Rick and Morty are hunting Rick Prime by teleporting suspected Ricks into test tubes and murdering them. But it turns out they're all decoys. Their search is so destructive that it's disrupting dimension, forcing evil Morty to find them and offer them help to protect his own peace. When they finally track down what seems like real Rick Prime, it turns out to be another trap. They're transported to a full prison of other Ricks who try to hunt Rick Prime. In a sick twist, Rick Prime appears via hologram and reveals he didn't just kill Rick's Diane. He used the Omega device to kill every version of Diane across infinite realities. He forces the imprisoned Ricks to fight each other to death in a tournament, promising the winner can have their Diane back. Rick and Evil Morty team up to kill other Ricks, but as Rick predicted, it was all a lie. They escape the prison and finally track Rick Prime. In his lair, Rick Prime casually kills Slow Mobius, Rick's uncle, with the Omega device to demonstrate its power, then engages a vicious fight with Rick, Morty, and Evil Morty. After the brutal battle, Evil Morty tricks Rick Prime by disguising himself as Morty and pretending to be Rick Prime's original grandson. He restrains Rick Prime, erases his backup clones, and then revives the unconscious Rick to get his revenge. With Rick Prime's healing to feel disabled, Rick begins beating him to death with his bare hands. In the most brutal scene in the series, Rick repeatedly punches Rick Prime's face until it becomes a bloody, unrecognizable mess. Rick emerges covered in Rick Prime's blood, but instead of satisfaction, he's left hollow and purposeless now that his lifelong quest for revenge is complete. In this episode, killing Rick Prime and the other Ricks, it's another total of 8 kills to the tally. Moving on is when Morty tries to cheer up a depressed Rick by cashing in his Morty adventure cards. But then Rick calls from an audit from a cosmic entity called the Observer. The Observer becomes malicious, showing embarrassing clips of their adventures and harassing the family. When Morty beats up the Observer and it gets run over by a truck, they're put on trial by other observers for murder. During the trial, the Observer showed clips of Rick and Morty's worst moments, including Rick slashing 2 vampires with a katana, shooting zombified Benjamin Franklin with a laser, and Rick ordering the termination of Space Jam Rick and Space Jam Morty off screen. With that, it adds another 5 kills to the tally. Okay, this is the episode that you guys have been waiting for. What if I tell you Rick kills billions in this episode? Yup, you heard that right. When Rick, Morty, and Summer exit a movie theater, Rick discovers his car battery is dead. He and Morty travel inside the battery to fix it, leaving Summer in the ship. Inside the battery, Rick reveals he's created an entire microverse, a civilization that powers his car through their exercise bikes, thinking they're generating power for their own society. The chaos begins when they discover Zeep Zanflor, a scientist who created his own miniverse for power, exactly what Rick did. This created nested universes. Rick's universe universes contains the microverse, which contains the miniverse. It gets worse when they meet Kyle, who created a teenyverse inside the miniverse. The three scientists argue about ethics, while Kyle realizes he's trapped in an infinite loop of exploitation. Overwhelmed by existential crisis and missing his father's funeral, Kyle commits suicide by flying into a mountainside, trapping Rick, Morty, and Zeep in the teenyverse. Morty forces Rick and Zeep to work together, and they bond over their addictions. In one of the final scenes in the episode, Rick destroys the box that contains the universes. This means that he annihilates Zeep's miniverse, which also annihilates Kyle's teenyverse, wiping out 5 billion lives for this miniverse. And because teenyverse is still a hunter-gatherer stage, we could only estimate 50 million population for the universe. So it is an estimate of 5.05 billion lives lost, all from Rick's simple car battery problem. Okay, you guys think that's all the kills? Okay, no, we skipped some kills because it will literally take an eternity to explain every single kill Rick Sanchez makes. We only covered the major ones, but there were smaller kills scattered throughout that we didn't dive into. In total, with all the small kills included, the final death count is 5.05 billion 931 kills for Rick Sanchez. Whew, this video took me a very long time to make. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and also comment down below on what you guys think we should do next. Go check out our latest video here, and I'll catch you guys next time in the next Rick and Morty video.